Is this thing on? Test, test. YouTube, we back with another one, baby. And then this is when we're gonna do a little intro. Y'all gonna see a little intro right here, right? Now we gotta get real excited, real animated. What's good, YouTube? It's a rainy day out. It's starting to get a little cool outside. So today we're gonna be making some red wine braised short ribs. Now, you can do this with chuck roast. You can do this with a bone-in short rib. You can do it with a bone-out short rib, right? We're gonna take some bone-in short rib. We're gonna sear them off in a skillet. We're gonna pressure cook them. We're gonna put them in a braising liquid that's gonna consist of celery, onions, carrots, otherwise known as a mirepoix. We're gonna add some garlic to that, a little fresh herbs or herb paste. Also gonna add some red wine, tomato paste, beef broth, and we're just gonna cook that down and allow that to braise in a pressure cooker. You can use a crock pot and let it braise for a few hours, or you can use a pressure cooker and it's gonna take about 45 to 55 minutes before the meat gets nice and tender. We're gonna make some nice creamy Yukon Gold mashed potatoes. I add some cream to it, a little bit of Parmesan cheese, and it's gonna be good as gold. Let me stop doing all this talking and let's get straight to cooking. Let me show y'all how to get down. Now let's get to cooking. For the braising liquid, it's gonna require a plethora of ingredients. It seems like it's a lot, but it's really not that much. So a mirepoix, as I stated earlier, consists of celery, carrots, and onion. That's a nice mirepoix. We're gonna peel this and chop it down. We also got some garlic cloves here that we're gonna add to that. In that braising liquid, we're gonna add some red wine. We're gonna add some beef better than bouillon. It's gonna be like a little bouillon paste. I might add some of these Italian herb paste because I don't have the fresh thyme and rosemary. My grocery store didn't have it, but I happen to have this on hand, so we're gonna do that. And we're gonna season it well with some nature seasoning. Now for our mashed potatoes, I got some Yukon Gold potatoes here that we're gonna peel off. I'm gonna boil these things down and then mash them. I'm gonna add some of this boursin, shallot, and chive, like cheese mixture, and a little bit of Parmesan. Hit it with a little bit of fresh chive. It's gonna be some of the best mashed potatoes you've ever had. I'm using Kerrygold butter because it's a nice, rich Irish butter that's gonna actually add flavor to the mashed potatoes as we cook it. But we'll get to that after the short ribs. Let's get to prepping our veggies. First things first, we'll start with the celery. I'm gonna just cut off the edges of the celery that don't really make any sense to me. This is like a little dirty. Yes, I cleaned these off first, so no need to ask, oh, did you wash these? Yes, I washed them. Washing veggies is very important. Y'all know if I wash chicken, I'm gonna wash some veggies, okay? And we can just keep this in some fairly nice sized chunks. So that's about 6 stalks of celery for our braising liquid. It's a pretty sharp knife. I just took this one out the box, right? Next we got our onion. I got a yellow onion. Just took the skin off of it. Give it a rough chop on the onion too. Toss everything in your trash bowl. And we're gonna chop both onions, so 2 medium-sized yellow onions to go with that 6 stalks of celery, all right? And these are rough numbers. You could do more, you can do less. It's up to you, okay? This is just what I'm doing. You prefer more of an onion flavor, then just add it to yours, okay? Thing about recipes, especially recipes like this one, comfort recipes, you're pretty much doing whatever you wanna do with them anyway. If you wanna add more flavor to it, add more flavor. If you wanna add less flavor to it, less flavor. More salt, do more salt. Less salt, do your thing at the end of the day, okay? That's all I'm saying. Now, next for the carrots, like I said, when I peel carrots, if you guys wanna know a little funny story about peeling veggies, carrots, and stuff like that, watch my last video with the chicken pot pie. When I'm peeling carrots, I like to put this paper towel down. I do this when I do potatoes as well. That way, all my peelings, I learned this from Kimmy too, believe it or not. All my shavings just go into the paper towel, I could wrap it up and toss it to the side. I got this peeler in my Amazon storefront. The link will be in the description down below. Sheesh, chill. I just don't want the skins all over the place. This is why having like a sous chef or a prep person in your kitchen is perfect. Because when I was a kid, I used to have to do all the peeling. I'm not saying I don't have one right now because she behind the camera right now looking at me with the look of death. But I'm just saying for you guys at home, it's good to have somebody assist you with the prep. So when, you know, ladies out there, y'all be like, yeah, my man don't do this. Just have him help you with the prep to get the rest done. Cooking can seem intimidating because it's a lot of work. Steve Harvey said everything is hard, man. So you can learn to cook today. And that's why you're watching this video right now, right? So just like the celery, I'm just gonna trim the ends of this carrot, put that to the side. Trim off the ends. Believe it or not, these veggies for this braising liquid, you can keep them at the end, but it's really just to flavor the braise. You're not even really gonna be using these at the end. These are just for the flavor. Celery is for the moisture and texture. The carrots and the onions are really for flavor. And the reason we leave it in big chunks is because a braise is a long cook time, 2 to 3 hours. If you have your veggies really small, they'll break down way too much. A little mush by the time the braise is over, all right? Good chunky veggies, and you keep them almost all the same size. Now we got our veggies all ready, the mirepoix. It's time to start the party, okay? Got these bone-in short ribs, as I stated before, right? You can see the bone right there. Got a nice little layer of fat on the outside, but we got 8 of these bad boys. I'm gonna hit these with some salt and pepper. You don't need to hit them with anything else for the braise, okay? Because any other seasoning is just gonna burn when you go to sear these things off. You can add the flour now if you like, but I'm gonna add the flour after I add the veggies. You'll see that part next, okay? Stay with me. I don't wanna lose y'all. But we got these beautiful short ribs that we're just gonna hit with a little bit of salt and pepper. All sides, just a little bit of salt and pepper. I got some kosher salt here. There's no specific measurement for how much salt to add. You just wanna coat these liberally with salt and pepper, okay? All sides of the short rib. Oh, somebody's gonna be like, oh, that's a lot of salt. It's really not. It's kosher salt, and if you don't wanna use as much salt, just don't use as much salt. I said be liberal, but if you wanna be frugal with the salt, go ahead, do your thing, baby. Promise, I won't be upset. Only one person eating this. Who knows? Because yesterday my mother fell in the door for the fried chicken, so who knows what happened. Boom, salting all these things up, making sure to get all sides. I like to use a pan like this when I'm doing it because any of that residual seasoning that falls to the bottom, I can just clean it up with the meat, the protein, whatever I'm seasoning. All over. Fresh crushed black pepper. There ain't nothing in here but some black peppercorns. Flip these bad boys over. I also have these tongs. The description will be down below. Pretty much everything that I use in my kitchen that you guys asked for, oh my gosh, where did I get it? I put it in my storefront, okay? So check it out. Link will be in my storefront. If you guys don't want to click the link below, or you're not watching this video from a device that you can click the link below, head to my website, OneStopChopLLC.com. I'll put it on the screen right here, OneStopChopLLC.com. Head to my shop page, and you can access my Amazon storefront from there as well. We ain't adding no seasoning, salt, no adobo, no chicken bouillon, just salt and pepper, okay? And then we'll go straight into searing these bad boys up. So watch this. I'm about to lift this up, and then we're gonna go straight into putting one down in the skillet. Got this Dutch oven right in front of us. Not Dutch oven, but enamel cast iron pan right in front of us that we're gonna use to sear the meat off on. We're gonna get this over medium-high heat and allow it to heat up. Now, the good thing about these enamel cast iron is that they hold heat really well. Even heat distribution, and they hold heat really well. So they're really good for searing, just like a regular cast iron would be, or a non-stick skillet that you got piping hot as well. So let's get this heated up to medium-high heat. I'm gonna add some oil to it, and then we're gonna go ahead and sear those short ribs off. So here we go. Let's get straight into it. I've got some avocado oil, Chosen Food Brands avocado oil. This is my favorite brand of avocado oil. You know it's true avocado oil. This is not a sponsored post. I just love it that much. It's not a blend. It's just pure avocado oil, okay? This was nice and hot. The reason I didn't add the avocado oil before I got it hot is because it'll start to heat your oil up more than it needs to, okay? Avocado oil has a high smoke point, I think of like 500. So that means that you could sear off a lot and cook down a lot before it actually starts to smoke up and get too hot or burn out. So that's why I like it over olive oil and things like that. Meat side down, not bone, and bone side up. We're gonna put this short rib down there. Love that sound. It's like music to my ears, baby. Pressing down a little bit once I add them in. All right, this one I'm gonna just save. We're gonna braise this later for no other reason than I think I wanna do something different. I'm gonna try something out with this one, so we're gonna save this one, but yeah. And it's not because I couldn't fit it in the pan, okay? I'm just saving it. Sear those off on each side for a few minutes, y'all. So we've gone about a little bit longer than the 2 to 3 minute mark. We're sitting at about 4 to 5 minutes right now, but once we start to get a nice little sear like this, we could flip it over. It's good to go, okay? It's good there. It may not look like the prettiest piece of meat right now. It'll look really good once we get this all cooked down and into the braising liquid, okay? I'm just gonna flip these over, give them a little bit of love on the opposite side as well. Flip them all over. Look at that one right there. Beautiful and brown. And don't be scared. If you happen to burn these things, my great grandmother taught me that burnt food make you pretty, all right? So all the beautiful ladies out there, I know y'all done ate some burnt food before. Y'all know I love me a good story time, right? When I was growing up, there were times that my mom had to go to work, night school or whatever, right? Sometimes my great grand aunt would watch us. I remember one time my Aunt V had ended up making some corn muffin, right? That's when you take the cornbread, you put it in the muffin tin. She made some corn muffins, right? She happened to burn the corn muffins, took them out, and she told us to eat them. We had to eat them for dinner. I didn't want to eat burnt food. I'm not gonna lie to you. I wasn't with the whole burnt food movement. I was like, ain't no way I'm about to eat these burnt corn muffins. And y'all know when cornbread burn, it stinks. She made us eat it. She was like, if y'all don't eat these corn muffins, this is crazy, man. I grew up in New York, right? Y'all not gonna be able to eat the pizza that I'm gonna order. She ordered a Hawaiian pizza, ham and pineapple, right? That was like our treat. So if we ate the corn muffins, we would have got the pizza. So me and my sisters was like, nah, ain't no way. We ain't eating them corn muffins, right? Well, I think one of my sisters did. But then after that, I was like, I can't do it. So since we didn't eat it, we sat at the table and didn't eat it. We ain't get no ham and pineapple pizza, man. So from that day on, I've been traumatized. I don't like corn muffins. Give me cornbread. I'm not a corn muffin kind of guy. She traumatized me. I got PTSD now, all right? So just give me the whole pan of cornbread. Please don't burn it. Please, please. And I'll try not to talk about it, okay? That's my little story about corn muffins and why I don't eat them. Much love to my Aunt V, but nah. So we're gonna cut the heat on this, okay? I'm not doing all 4 sides. We're just gonna do these 2 sides. I'm about to take these off and put them onto a sheet tray. The same sheet tray that they were already on, because guess what? These are not fully cooked yet. Same sheet tray that you had these on. So go ahead and take these off fully. You can see we got a nice sear on the bone on the back side too. We're just gonna put these right on here. And just let them relax on this sheet tray while we work on this this braising liquid, okay? No, they're not cooked yet. So yes, it's okay for us to put it back on the same sheet tray because they are not fully cooked yet. They will be fully cooked when we put them in the braising liquid and put them in a pressure cooker and let them cook down. All right, so that's what these look like right now. And let's just set these aside and start to work on our braising liquid. So into that same skillet over medium heat. We were medium high before, reduce the heat to medium right now. We're gonna add our vegetables. Now, what we can do is add the vegetables in at different times, but I'm not doing that. We're pressure cooking this, okay? So a real chef is gonna get in the comments and say, you should have done this, you should have done that. And I'm gonna be like, do it in your kitchen, because this is what I'm doing in mine, okay? Put these veggies in that same skillet. I'm just gonna get a wooden spoon, mix these up in here, make sure they're spread all around. And the moisture from these veggies is gonna start to work to break up some of that fond and those little bits from the short ribs off the bottom of the skillet. But when we add the red wine and the broth, it'll also serve as a method to deglaze the bottom of the pan so that we get all of that flavor when we go to put this in a pressure cooker. If you're not using a pressure cooker at this point, you can still do this, but this portion would have been done in the same Dutch oven that you're gonna be using to slow cook your meat, whatever you got, right? All of that could be done in the same pot. But since I'm using a pressure cooker, I'd rather do this separately so I get a really, really good sear. And then we start to break down some of that flavor when we deglaze the pot. So just give that a little mix. Let these cook down for a few minutes. And then we'll start to add in all the other stuff next. After a few minutes of this just, you know, sauteing, sweating down, I'm gonna add some garlic paste in here, about a tablespoon or so. You can use minced garlic as well, but I'm using garlic paste just for the ease of not having to wait until, you know, the garlic becomes fragrant and stuff like that. Next, we're gonna add a little bit of tomato paste, a couple teaspoons of tomato paste as well. It's gonna give you that tomato flavor, but also make it vibrant in color in addition to the wine. I'm just gonna mix that in and allow for that tomato paste to cook out a little bit, because tomato paste is nothing but a lot of concentrated tomatoes, like super concentrated tomatoes. So of course it's gonna be bitter. So you can smell it as soon as you add it, but you just want to cook some of that tomato paste out. Now the next thing we're going to add is some flour. I'm going to go in here with about a 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. This flour is going to help us to kind of start to make this gravy, okay? It's going to help to develop that gravy that forms in the crock pot. You just want to mix this around for a couple minutes and allow for that flour to cook off. You'll notice that it's nice and thick like that, but we're gonna deglaze. It's gonna pick up everything that's at the bottom of this skillet here. Nice and chunky. It's winter time, so it's okay for all of us to be nice and chunky. So once you get all that flour cooked out, you'll smell it. You'll be able to tell. You'll be able to smell the veggies again. I know I got flour on the back of the spoon. So we're gonna deglaze with a little bit of red wine, 1/4 to 1/2 cup. Okay, I understand a lot of people may not want to use red wine. You don't have to. You can just deglaze with the broth. The red wine just adds flavor, and believe it or not, the alcohol gets cooked out anyway. And next, I've got some low sodium beef broth, okay? Low sodium beef broth. Kettle and Fire is one of my favorite brands of beef broth and chicken broth and bone broth. So get you some. This is low sodium. You just want to go ahead and add the broth straight in here. This will also help with the deglazing. Like I said, if you don't want to use red wine, you can just go ahead and use the broth. You can add a little bit at a time. Same way we did for that chicken pot pie to make kind of that stew gravy. You'll see everything starting to come from the bottom of that pan. Look how you could run that spoon across kind of clean, right? That's the deglazing process that we were speaking of. Go ahead and add a little more. Now I'm gonna add just one here, and then when we put this into the pressure cooker, I'll add the other. I'm gonna let this kind of start to form. It's gravy, it's gonna be thick. I just wanna make sure that I don't have those thick bits of flour in here, right? Now it smells good in here already. I wish, like Emerald said, when I was growing up, we had smell-o-vision so y'all could smell this, how good this smells. But when you make this in your house, if not, hurry up, get to the grocery store, get the ingredients in the description. After you like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, okay? Get the ingredients and then try this one out for yourself. So behind me, I have my pressure cooker, right? I'm gonna get this thing turned on. It has a bunch of different settings. I got this thing like a few years ago, right? Pressure cook. I would pressure cook it on high. I'm not gonna start it off on a pressure cook now. I'm just gonna warm this thing up. So let's go with a slow cook and start it right now, because I just want to start to warm it up right now before we start the pressure cooking process, because I want this to start getting hot. It won't take 20 minutes for the pressure cook to start, all right? So let that warm up a little bit, then we're gonna start to add everything to it. But back to this. So we got this little gravy forming. We want to start to add the flavor and some of the seasonings to it, okay? We got a little bit of beef, better than bouillon here. Flavor, I'm just gonna add a little bit of this beef, better than bouillon. Open this bad boy up. Teaspoonful of that beef, better than bouillon. Add a little bit of nature seasoning. Y'all know I love this stuff. Salt, pepper, garlic, and the onion powder. Almost forgot. Remember, I wanted to add those Italian herbs via the Italian herb paste. Add some of that up in there, and we'll give it a good mix. Tablespoon or so. A little bit of garlic and herbs. So I don't have to season it too much now. Once the short ribs come out, they'll have soaked in a lot of that flavor. We can still add flavor to the gravy before we pour it over the short ribs, if we need it. But you can see it's already starting to thicken up. Man, it's gonna be perfect when it comes out. I'm gonna give this a little taste right now, just to make sure that, you know, I ain't over salted or nothing like that. But remember, we got low sodium beef broth, so we good. But let me get a little taste. Oh man, that's good already. That's good already. Jesus, Jesus. Now would you look at that beauty right there like that right there. So this is already nice and hot. Remember, we just kind of preheated it a little bit. So into the pressure cooker, we're gonna add our short ribs. You can do them first, you can do them last, it doesn't really matter. But we're gonna get our short ribs into the pressure cooker, okay? We're just gonna add these. Now we got that beautiful braising liquid that we just made. We're gonna pour that right over these short ribs. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Get up in there, get in there. Now to make sure that these are completely covered, we're gonna add the rest of this beef broth in there. We're gonna take this garlic, trim the top off, and it's okay to have the paper and all of that, right? Because we're gonna sift this and strain it when we get done anyway. But we're gonna go ahead and drop this whole clove of garlic up in there. Like I said, if I had the fresh rosemary and thyme, I would have thrown that in there too, but we did the Italian herbs anyway, and we got the dry seasoning in there. So close this thing up, turn it on, gonna slide it all the way over to pressure cook, and then we're gonna go for pressure cooking on high for 50 minutes. Turn this thing on, and let's get it popping. So allow this pressure cook for 15 minutes. It'll take a little bit to warm up before it actually starts. It'll beep again with this pressure cooker. I can link this pressure cooker if you guys want below in the description. Make sure the vent is sealed and not open, because then you vent it later on when it's done. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes to vent. But we're gonna allow this to pressure cook, and we're gonna work on our mashed potatoes. For those pressure cooking with me, we're moving on to the next thing, which is mashed potatoes, right? So like I said, I'm using these Yukon Gold potatoes. I love a Yukon Gold potato. You can use red potatoes with the skin on. You can use russet potatoes, whichever you prefer. I'm gonna steep some heavy cream with butter and a little bit of garlic. Steeping means I'm just gonna warm this milk up and allow the flavor of like the butter and the garlic to really seep into that heavy cream as we warm it up for the flavor, right? Also got some Parmesan and some Boursin cheese. And we're gonna season it off with a little bit of this nature seasoning. I use this on everything. It's like that Frank's Red Hot, put that shit on everything, right? And then chives is gonna be what we use to top off the potatoes. We'll put a little bit on the inside, and then we'll finish and garnish the short ribs with chives when we're done as well. We're gonna go ahead and put this paper towel down, and I'm gonna just run my peeler across this thing. I like this peeler because it can go just like this. You don't just gotta one swipe down. You can go down and up. What Cam say? Dun, dun, dun. Alex, add that clip right there. Dun, dun, dun. This peeler's on my Amazon storefront, okay? You got that whip appeal, so whip it on me. Let me know if you guys ever had to peel a potato like this. If you had to take the knife and peel the skin back like this. And that finger that you had to watch out for that you didn't cut. And boy, I used to waste a lot of potato, I'm not gonna lie. I used to cut this thing like boom. I wasn't doing all that work. You wasn't about to get me to go all around that eye. Back in the day, potatoes had a lot of eyes on them because grandma left it in the bag for way too long. Right? So it started to develop roots, and it was about to start to make more potato babies, because them potatoes sat on that counter forever. So if y'all feel me, you know where I'm coming from. Make sure y'all drop a comment down below and tell me your story about your grandma and how she had you peeling these things and how many times you cut your finger too. I started to come up with methods on how to do it best, because if you peel the potatoes fast, then you get the next job. Probably shredding cheese or cubing up some cheese for the macaroni and cheese, right? But this potato job wasn't no joke, man. After you get these all peeled up, the next step is to just slice these into about 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch, even an inch if you want to, thick pieces, okay? It just makes the potatoes easier to mash. You just have to make sure that as you're slicing them, they're all about the same size. Trust me on this one, all right? So we're gonna get these into a strainer and rinse them off. All right, so we're just gonna take these and rinse them off, and then we're gonna add them to some boiling water. Look, here's what we're gonna do for the mashed potatoes. I mentioned steeping some cream, right? So we have some heavy cream that we're gonna add to a little saucepan, okay? I'm gonna add about 1/2 cup of heavy cream because I don't know exactly how much heavy cream I'm gonna need for this recipe until the potatoes get boiled, of course, because I can't even remember how many potatoes I sliced up. But for the full specific recipe measurements and ingredients, I will put it in the description down below, okay? So after we do this, I'll go back over it and make sure that I give you guys specific details on how to make some really, really good mashed potatoes. But for the steeped cream, I got the cream into a saucepan. I got some Kerrygold. We're gonna take a few tablespoons of that and add the few tablespoons of salted butter into this cream, okay? Just let it dump it right on in there. So we got that rich butter flavor. And then you could either use minced garlic, you could use whole cloves of garlic, but I'm just gonna toss about a teaspoon of garlic paste in there so that we have nice garlic flavor that will run through these mashed potatoes. I'm gonna put this over low heat and allow this cream to get steeped with that butter and the garlic so that it has some flavor to it, right? If you want, you could add some thyme in here or rosemary. When you're steeping, you're just trying to infuse the flavor into that cream or whatever liquid that you have. When you're steeping, it's like a tea bag. You're trying to infuse the liquid of the tea bag into the water. So here we're trying to infuse the flavor of this garlic and this butter into the cream. So I'm gonna put this over low heat and let this come to a light little simmer. Don't let it come to a boil, and make sure you watch it so it doesn't overflow on top of the stove, okay? But we're gonna use this warm cream to put on top of the potatoes. You don't wanna put cold milk onto the potatoes because it'll stiffen the potatoes up. So I'm gonna put this behind me, right, in the stove behind me, on low heat, and make sure to watch this, okay? When I say low, 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 like Flo Rida said, low. So now we have this pot of boiling water. You put the lid on the pot, it brings the water to a boil faster, all right? So you don't have to watch the water come into a boil. Just put the lid on. I'm telling you, it's a little trick that I do. Put the lid on, the water's gonna come to a boil a lot faster. To that boiling water, I'm gonna add some salt, right? So about a tablespoon of salt. I'm just gonna carefully dump these potatoes into the water. Let these potatoes boil for about 7 to 9 minutes until they're nice and fork tender. You don't want them to be too mushy or anything in here. So 7 to 9 minutes until they're nice and fork tender. That's the reason why we slice them, so that they'll be smaller and they'll cook faster than if they were whole. After a few minutes, I told you, you gotta keep checking this. You can see the steam coming off of this thing. That butter is starting to melt. And right now I'm just giving it a little mix just to help break up that garlic. That's the reason why I use garlic paste instead of like the minced garlic. That garlic paste will get incorporated into this in no time, but I'm just giving it a good mix so that we don't let that milk curdle or get that little skin at the top. So just monitor it, check on it, stir it every minute or so, okay? We almost there, y'all. Most of them are done, but there's still a couple that aren't fork tender yet, so like 1 or 2 more minutes. So the potatoes are floating. I'm checking them and they're nice and fork tender. Once the potatoes are nice and fork tender, you'll notice the potatoes are floating. That's one indicator to let you know that they're done. But the potatoes will be nice and fork tender. Press them with a fork. They're kind of breaking up a little bit. Now it's time to strain these potatoes, and then we're gonna let these kind of steam for a little bit. I'm gonna strain these potatoes. Let me get the excess water off first. And then let me show you guys a little method that I use to make sure that there's no excess moisture. So since the potatoes are hot and the pot is hot that the potatoes just came out of, I'm gonna put these potatoes right back in here, and I'm gonna cover them with a kitchen towel. Covering them with the kitchen towel allows the kitchen towel to kind of trap that steam and soak it all up to get all the excess moisture out of the potatoes, to get all the extra water that you may have not strained off out of the potato. So just let it sit here for a few minutes after you strain them and place them back in this pot to steam them and allow for all that excess moisture to get pulled out. Our 50-minute timer on the short ribs is finally over. We've been doing a lot in between the time, right? I'm gonna use a rag or a towel, whatever one you got, and I'm gonna go from seal to vent on this thing. And you'll see all the steam starts to release. So just be ready for that, all right? Keep your face away. Don't put your face right over it. That's dangerous. You'll burn your face up, but you wanna let all the steam release out. This might take up to 10 minutes for all the steam to release. A pressure cooker is just keeping all of this steam in there in a pressured environment to allow that excess moisture and that heat tenderize the meat. That's how the pressure cooker cooks meat really fast. Don't put the knife in there and try to jimmy rig it to open it up. You'll hurt yourself, all right? That's an unsafe practice. Just let all the steam come out on its own. So while we wait on that, might as well work on these potatoes, right? You can take that towel off. You'll see that it's still hot, but that towel should have soaked up a lot of that excess moisture. What we want to do now is just kind of start to press the potatoes down. I don't have a perfect masher, but this will do. Nice and soft, so this process of smashing them is really easy. Plus we don't have the potato skins in there or anything, so that helps too. Remember that cream that we had earlier? I'm gonna take some of this cream and just slowly incorporate the cream into the mashed potatoes. Don't do it all at once because you don't wanna have mashed potatoes that are too wet, right? You want them to be creamy, not too loose. This is actually a good masher. A little cooking tip here. If you guys are gonna invest in any kitchen tool, make sure you get yourself a silicone spatula. I love these things. They're really easy to maintain. They're durable. They last a long time. And I love it for like scraping the edges of the pot as I'm doing whatever sauce and as you guys can see, we've already got some really good mashed potato consistency here. So I'm gonna take some of this Boursin cheese. I'm gonna add a little bit of this up in there. Maybe a tablespoon, 2 teaspoons of it. Parmesan cheese. And we'll grate in some fresh Parmesan cheese. Now you guys notice I haven't seasoned it yet. I'm trying to understand the flavor profile before I add anything else to it. We salted the water that the potatoes cooked in, so that was a little bit of flavor. We got the Boursin cheese, and then we got Parmesan, which is a little salty. So I wanna make sure I taste these potatoes and understand the flavor profile before I add any additional seasoning to it. Doesn't mean I won't add any seasoning. Doesn't mean it's gonna be lacking flavor. Let me know that all the pressure's pretty much out and I can open it. So give yourself time. Don't over salt your food early because there's no turning back. It's gonna look just like that, y'all. Look at that. Now, mashed potatoes was one of my favorite foods growing up. I could eat mashed potatoes all day, all night if I'm sick. I'm gonna hit them with a little bit of this nature seasoning. Now I'm gonna add just a touch more of this cream because as it sits, it's gonna stiffen up. And we're gonna work on our short ribs. It's the final countdown. Good googly moogly. Put these to the side, let's work on our short ribs. So now it's time, baby. Unlock this bad boy. This is it right here, y'all. This is it right here. It's falling off the bone. The bone's not even with this right now. Time for us to actually strain this sauce now. And then we're gonna start to cook this and reduce it down to make a beautiful gravy, put atop these short ribs. Now, in a perfect scenario, you did these ahead of time, right? What you can do is just allow this to cool off, place it in the fridge, and then once you put it in the fridge, fat's gonna turn into a solid, and it's just gonna go to the top of whatever container you put it in. Some of the bones went MIA, but it's all good. Remember, I counted, I got 7, right? Gotta make sure. Look at that. Okay, so the next step is to just strain so that we can get like the liquid and not have all the vegetables and everything. You can blend these vegetables up and add them in here to thicken this up, or you can just let it reduce. Start to mix. Y'all see what I do. Watch. Just watch what I do. Some people feel like it's a waste of veggies to not blend them up, but the veggies already serve their purpose, okay? If you want to blend the veggies and just add it to the liquid as well, but you have to blend them really fine, all right? And then sift it one more time, even after you blend it. You can tell how tender these things are because there's a few bones that got left behind. So these were definitely tender, man. The bone didn't make it. It just slid right on out. So that's how you can tell how tender they are. Over medium heat, let's get you a saucepan, and we're just gonna pour some of this liquid right up in there to allow it to start to reduce, okay? And you just wanna reduce this down until it starts to thicken up. As it thickens up, this is what's gonna turn into our gravy. I'm gonna add a little bit more of this beef better than bouillon to it. 1, to give it some color. 2, to give it some flavor, more depth of flavor, that is. So yeah, just allow this to come to a boil and then reduce it a little bit. Just allow it to simmer until it starts to thicken up into that reduction that you need. That's kind of like the gravy consistency to pour over top of the short ribs. All right, so this is where we at right now. It's not really able to coat the back of a spoon without it running off really quick. You can see all the fats still in there, right? So we're just gonna let this reduce. Now, if you want to, as you're going along, you can skim the fat off the top. We're just gonna let this reduce on a light simmer. Let's go maybe, 10 minutes? And then we'll check on the thickness after about 10 minutes to see where we're at. If you just want the reduction and to keep the flavor without changing it and altering it with any flour, Just let it reduce just like this, okay? So now after about 10 minutes, y'all, we got a nice thick gravy. The gravy has thickened up to the point where it's able to coat the back of the spoon, and you'll know because you're able to run your finger across and it doesn't run back to the center. The flavor's amazing because it reduced and came together. So now we're ready to start to plate this thing up. Let's show this on the camera here. So here we got this nice heaping spoon of mashed potatoes. Now we're gonna come in here and try to get our best short rib hitters. That's hot. 1 short rib. And we got 2 short rib. If you want, you can pull out the bone. You can see how easy this bone just slides right on out. Let you know that they're just that tender. The best part of this dish is gonna hands down be this delicious, silky, smooth gravy, right? The reduction that we allow to thicken up on these short ribs, we're just gonna go right over the short ribs with the gravy. And then we can just finish this off with a little bit of fresh chopped chives. Just right on top of there. And then we have it. We got this beautiful braised short rib dish with some creamy garlic and herb mashed potatoes. Let's dig in. Sheesh. And it's that tender, so I'm gonna get a nice little piece of that right there. Y'all can have the first bite if you want it. Cheers to y'all on the good dish. I don't know if y'all saw that, but I almost fell forward. That joint was so good. I almost took my knees out. Dang. This dish is a hit. I knew it would be. Make sure y'all try this dish out. Don't forget, before you go anywhere, be sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 1 million subscribers, right? And it starts here with y'all. Appreciate you guys for checking out the video. Try this recipe out and let me know when you do. You already know. It's a wrap. Let's go.